to the championship ship. That Nick Bosa drop him hard like a hit stick. The Jimmy Ward intercept him with a pick six. Like Debo, we gon' knock him like a brick. The Trey Lance play action to a drop back. When the blitz coming quick, the old line gon' block that. RPO with Kyle Hughes, Juice. But Mitchell and George Kittle, can't nobody stop that. Stand behind Kyle Shanny all the way. It's like a game of chess when he call the play. Brendan Ayuk on the center fade. Bang, bang, Niner gang all day.
And those videos courtesy of NFL.com and not Maddie B this week. Welcome to IE Sports Radio, everybody. I am Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex. We are the East Coast Red and Gold. How's everyone doing tonight?
Doing well. Feeling good.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have a lot to get to tonight. But earlier this week, we sat down. We had an awesome opportunity to sit down with our special guest, Nick Clarke, who is the 49ers senior fan
engagement.
Right. Senior manager of fan engagement.
There you go.
Thank you. Sorry. Getting over a cold.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of words. But, to discuss the business side of things. So let's see what Nick had to say. Hi, Nick. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Doing good.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no problem. How are you doing?
Good. Excited coming off a big win yesterday. Had the stadium filled with 49ers faithful, and then obviously coming off a huge week in Mexico. So, kind of crazy having the international game, the American holiday, then a home game, all back to back. But it's always a good time, and we're excited to be where we're at going into week 13, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Today being
I was told there would be
right
more
now.
math. Or, that's what I was told. Yeah, I was told I was not here for math. It's all there's too much counting.
Yeah, today being Victory Monday.
Yes.
Monday it is.
All right.
I gotta ask you. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mac.
No, I was just gonna ask, like the frequent flyer miles, like England and Mexico, and
Yes.
like
He's got
Tahiti
them piled up.
on the schedule next,
I mean, wherever they send us, happy to represent the Niners. No, I mean, it's been good from the draft. We were out in Vegas to since the season started, 2 trips to the UK, 2 trips to Mexico, a trip to Denver, and a trip to LA. Wow. And then I had staff. I didn't make the trip because I was in the UK, but we had staff in Atlanta. And then we're now getting ready for this home stretch, and then down to Vegas for the Battle of the Bay versus Mandalay Bay.
Mandalay Bay.
Next gen Battle of the Bays, right?
That's right.
Next gen.
That should be a fun one. New Year's Eve. That should be a fun one.
Yeah, the league, they love to schedule holidays around 49ers versus Raiders, whether it be, the Thursday before Halloween here at Levi Stadium for the last Battle of the Bay to New Year's in Vegas, because, nothing big happens in New Year's Eve in Las Vegas. So why not just sprinkle some heavy NFL rivalry right on top of it?
Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, Nick. So before we get into all the other 49ers questions, before you started working for the 49ers, you were a Jungle Cruise skipper in Disneyland. And I absolutely love that ride. Yes, I did my research. I did my homework. I absolutely love that ride and that movie. How did you get into that? And what is your favorite joke to tell? Because I did see your video of your whole, your thing on the boat and stuff like that. And I thought it was so awesome. So just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I was a Jungle Cruise skipper from January 2014 to August 2014. I was part of the Disney College program. I went to school at San Francisco State University. Go Gators. And I actually did a prior internship with Disney out in Orlando in 2012, and it was more of the outdoor vending, sort of, the giant pickles, the turkey legs, churros, what have you, at Epcot. So I got to do that for 5 months and really loved that experience. And I liked it because people always ask, what did you like better, Orlando versus Anaheim? And for me, Orlando was where I grew as a person, and Anaheim was where I grew as a professional. So when I decided I wanted to go back and have another shot at working at Disney, especially in the parks, still in college, I was in my junior year, and I was like, all right, I want to do this. And if I do it, hopefully now that I have I'm a little bit more of a vet this time, I can give them sort of the roles that I want. Because the first time it was like, just get me to Disney World. I'll do whatever you want. I just want to work there for a short period of time, get some college credits, take some online classes. And the second time I was like, right, let's be a little bit more strategic with this. Let's go for Jungle Cruise. If I don't get that, maybe try to be a photo pass. If not, maybe a character attendant, right? A lot of front fan facing or guest facing roles. That way I could build up some of my customer service and guest service skills. And I really think that's helped me into my roles thereafter. And then obviously now into the Niners, being able to be so fan facing, always around, being comfortable to speak in front of bigger crowds. And it's really that Disney training of guests first, and then making sure that, you're really putting on a show from everything that you say. Whether it's, some things aren't going well, like you never hear people say, oh, we're having technical difficulties, right? I also work at Indiana Jones, right? It's like, oh, the snakes got out. We got to close down the attraction for a few minutes. Different things like that. So Jungle Cruise, I really wanted to have that experience. It was one of my favorite attractions as a kid and growing up. And I felt like I had grown a little bit and had broken out of my shell a little bit enough so that way I could confidently do it. And it definitely takes probably about a month or so to really get your groove on going around. You're traveling around all the rivers of the world in about 8 minutes, and you're doing it for about 40 minutes straight before you get a break. So you really have to work into that. As far as favorite jokes, I always loved the Piranha Pool area. So if you're not familiar with it, it's right after the backside of water. So you get everyone excited, O2H, O2H. And then as it's approaching, I always like to slow the boat down, and then I point out, if you look over there, a lot of people take that for granite, but it's limestone. Yeah, I know. Joke could have been a little bolder. Yeah, I know. These jokes really rock. And then right about then is where the piranhas surprise everyone, because they're all sort of like, what is this slow why did we stop in this random place to look at rocks? We've been looking at elephants. We've been looking at giraffes. We've been looking at all these different things. And then all of a sudden you stop and people are like, what is going on? They're just paying attention to every word you say. And then from behind them, the piranhas come out and you jet out of there. It's a little entertainment for myself because I get to see people have a fun little scared reaction, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing's ever too scary at Disney, but get people to jump out of their seats. It's a good time.
That's pretty cool. That's definitely one of my favorite attractions for sure. I had to bring that up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I love it. We could turn this into a Disney podcast. I don't know your listeners would love it, but I could do it all.
You know what? I'm sure they'd be okay. Everyone's, a kid at heart.
Yeah. Who is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, Nick, how did you become a 49ers fan?
Yeah, I was born into it. I feel very fortunate because there's so many folks that work in professional sports that don't have the opportunity to work for the team that they grew up rooting for. For me, I grew up rooting for this team. I've got pictures. My godfather and my grandfather just pretty quickly out of the womb in Niners gear. I have a photo of me in a sweatsuit that on the couch. You could tell there's a game on. I don't know that anyone could tell what game it is, but I'm going to go ahead and say that it was the Super Bowl in 94. I was born in 93, so I'm just going to say that that's what it was, and who's going to say that it wasn't? And then just sort of grew up a Niners fan. I would say it really clicked with me when I was in high school, when I was playing football. That's when I really started clicking into the professional landscape of it, understanding what it was. And then when I graduated from high school, I ended up going to SF State, and SF State doesn't have a football team, doesn't have a whole lot of sports landscape, but I quickly was just sort of falling in love with what the idea of professional sports are and understanding how professional sports work in the landscape of business and then the community as well. And that's where I got my internship with NBC Sports Bay Area. So that's the regional sports network that covers the San Francisco Giants, the Warriors, the Niners, the Sharks, at the time, the Raiders, the Sacramento Kings, a little bit of Earthquakes as well. So really got to find out the dynamics of all these different teams. And really it was that mixed with a little bit of the Disney experience that we were just talking about, of being able to have that front-facing fan experience and be able to exchange not only giveaway type stuff, because we can do that pretty much anywhere, but to be able to have that heartfelt sense of like, yeah, I've been here in the trenches with the Niners, whether it be the years. I'll just use the example of like the Jeremy Curley years, right? They're like, that's your star offensive player, to the years that we have now, where we've got so many offensive weapons that you really can't say that one of them is the true superstar, because they all are. So just being able to do that is really how I fell into the work side of loving the 49ers, because I'd say, grew up a Niners fan, you easily can fall in love with the passion of sports in general, and then your local team, the Niners. And then, I was in college. I started college in fall of 2011. So, I didn't have college football, but I had the 2011 49ers defense and that team that, went up against the New York Giants in the NFC Championship. And then just knowing for a full year, like next year's team is going to the Super Bowl, you just knew it. And to follow that all the way through, following a Giants World Series parade, a San Francisco baseball Giants parade, I should say, and then to go to the Super Bowl and not go to the Super Bowl, but be a fan living in San Francisco, watching everything come together, was just a unique experience. And then when I was living in Anaheim, that was when we had the NFC Championship against Seattle. So just to have that 3-year run, pretty much my entire college experience was my college football per se. And then to be able to graduate from college with year 2 of Levi's Stadium, I had worked with the Niners for about 3 different seasons in different capacities through NBC Sports. And the company was just growing so rapidly at the time. There was a need for a fan engagement and marketing intern. Was able to I had to fly for 2 different roles. The first one I didn't get, the second one I did end up getting, and stuck that out for 2 seasons, the coordinator for 2 seasons, manager for 3 seasons, and now fortunate enough to be a senior manager here at the Niners, and just slowly working up that ladder and really feeling blessed every day to be with an organization that I love.
That's
long-winded answer.
Sweet.
Sorry.
Very cool.
No, that's okay.
Very
No, that's cool. Definitely. That's how you guys
All right, so
have anything?
let's go back. Let's go back to the high school
right.
years.
Okay.
All right, so let's see if you're a real Niners fan. If you say, like you say,
Okay.
all right, who was your favorite player growing up?
Well, I have a Jerry Rice poster that I've had in my room my whole life, and it's now in my garage, but I still have it up, and it's this really cool Nike. It's illustrated, so it's not even a photo. It's really cool. It almost looks animated, and with the Filipino descent that I have, like I always thought it was so cool. We used Jerry Rice, and we had rice all the time, so like he was Jerry Rice. That was one thing that always stood out to me. And then when I was in high school, I preferred playing defense, but I dabbled a little bit with tight end. So I really loved Vernon Davis. Still one of my favorite players.
Mm-hmm.
Got to do a virtual event with him in 2020, which was a really cool moment for me. But Vernon was just the guy. I love that he was such a dependable offensive player, but then he also had that balance of off the field. He was someone unique, right? A lot of these, you look at like the top majors of guys in college, sort of can figure out what those few are. He's like, no, I'm an art major. Like when I'm not here, I'm an artist. And I just thought that was super unique. Now works in like the movie industry, which I always thought was really cool. And so to me, he was my favorite player when I first like really understood the game and was like a guy that I wanted to be like. And then it's hard not to love Frank Gore. Hey, diddle diddle, Frank Gore up the middle.
So Vernon Davis, did you ever go to his art studio in Santana Row?
I don't think I ever saw it. I remember when it opened, and I didn't make it to the art studio. I've been to the Jamba Juice quite a few times, though.
The art gallery was very nice. I went there once a couple of years ago. Well, it's been a few years, obviously, but no, it was really neat to know that he had that side of him where he was really into art. Mm-hmm.
Well, and you see that even after his playing days are done, he's got he's so multifaceted across art too. It's not just painting, because that was what sort of everyone knew him for at the beginning, was painting. But I think this year he put out a rap single. He's in He's in Baywatch with The Rock. He's been doing his own movie thing on the side. So it's cool to see not only achieving dreams on the football field. He did win a Super Bowl with the Broncos after going to the Super Bowl with us. And then, career on the field ends, and he just keeps pushing for more off the field, which I think is super inspiring too. So still to this day, one of my favorite guys to have played for the Niners.
Nice.
That
How
kinda
about a
leads me
favorite
into
current player?
Current guys, I try not to pick favorites now that I work here.
It's just us here.
It's
You can
just
tell
us.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just us. It's us.
I'll say this: I've had the opportunity to work with the Kittle family a lot, outside of, within the Niners and outside the Niners a little bit. We do a Women of the Niners event each year where we do a yoga event. We did it virtually in 2020 for the first time. Then we've been able to do it in person the past 2 years. And working with Emma and Bruce, they're such incredible people. And then getting to know Jan and Claire and just getting to know them. And they actually came out to the event that I did, one of the events I did out in Mexico, and they wanted to be a part of it. So it's become really cool and almost like a real friendship, not just a working community, not a working relationship. So I will say that. And then, I mean, George is George on the field. How can you not love the guy, what he does on the field, what he does off the field? So I'll say the Kittle family, and then we could just make that adjacent to my favorite player. How about that?
There you go.
All right, that'll work. I'm even wearing my Kittle multi-face shirt today for the
There you
for this
go.
interview.
Love it.
Go ahead, Maddie. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're totally fine. And you were talking, so I was like, I'm just going to stop now, and then I'll pick up later. See, we just learned that right on the fly. It was totally fine. Who are some of the former alumni and historical 49ers that have been great to work with during this? Like, you guys seem to have a pretty good core, a group there that goes out to these things, no matter where you're going, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, one of the most consistent people that we get to work with, just because he has such a passion for doing stuff for the community, and that's and he grew up in LA, but he's made the Bay Area his home, is Dennis Brown, a Super Bowl champion with the 94 team, defensive lineman. He's just, if you need someone as a go-to for anything, call Dennis Brown. And if he's not already booked up for another community event or, a media thing that he's doing, then 95% of the time he'll be there. So the dependability of Dennis Brown is absolutely incredible, and such an amazing human being. He got married a few years ago, and it's really just turned his life. And he's just a great person. Every time you see him, he recognizes your face. He does his best to remember your name, and that's always great to work with Dennis. I've actually been family friends with Joe Nedney for a long time as well. His sister, or my sister, and his daughter are the same age, so they went to school together since kindergarten through, and they're still friends to this day in college. So when we had the UK trip, and it was sort of hey, this is our first time going to the UK. We want to have an alumni with us. Let's find someone who, has some relevancy to him as, having a background in soccer and being a kicker. He played in the first game that we played in London. And just knowing that he was going to be such a great personality to work with. And I've worked with him on a number of events, with the community events. He made an appearance as a Niner representative for a Niners Pride event. He just knew he was going to do a great job, having done some media as well. So Joe, Dennis, and then recently we've been able to do a lot more with BY since he's gotten into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the 49ers Hall of Fame. And he's just another incredible human being that it's just he's so inspiring, and he's so kind, and he's willing to put in the time and have a real conversation with every single person he talks to, which I think is super unique. And then the guys that you just sort of are in awe of every time you get to do events with them, the guys like Jerry Rice and Patrick Willis, we were just like, these are the dudes, right? Like, you just feel so fortunate to be in the same room with such greatness. And then the fact that you can be a part of the event, that everyone who's in attendance to that also gets to be a part of it, is pretty unique and special as well.
Yeah, I've been trying to get BY on the show.
Patrick.
No luck yet, though. But
I keep
Just
knocking
saying,
on the
Nick.
door. I'm sure he'll. He's had a busy couple of years, but I bet
He's a
you
busy man.
keep knocking on that door.
Yeah, we'll take
Still
that
scared.
too.
It's
Then,
still
then I
scary
can
to me.
propose in person.
It's still scary to me. I watched him play as a freshman in college all the way through his entire NFL career, right? Because I watched him at Notre Dame and then all the way through, and it was just like, and I watched him then have a career and then have be introduced in the Hall of Fame. It's like, wow, I'm old. Like that's really what really what it boils down to. You're like, wow, you've been doing this a long time when you've seen this, right? And it's just one of those deals. So craziness to me.
It's funny.
So Nick, what is your favorite event or trip you've taken as the fan engagement senior manager? Most memorable?
Oh, wow. Well, so this is my 8th season with the team, so I've been fortunate to be a part of some really cool trips. I'll do one not in season trip, and then we'll figure out one in season, and then we'll throw in the obvious one too. So one of the first trips I got to go on when I was still an intern here is we did a trip from San Francisco up to Portland, or I guess Santa Clara up to Portland, and it was a week-long trip, and we would drive about 2 to 3 hours every day. And we actually did it. We went to a local school or a local YMCA. We did a youth football camp for the kids there, and it was really cool because as you're getting further and further north, and Portland's, I mean, it's close to Seattle, but it's not that close to Seattle, and it's obviously not close to San Francisco. So you're getting into more of these communities where football, they just sort of get whatever team Fox or CBS decides that they watch, unless they buy the Sunday ticket. And you really get to see that impact of like what you can do to spend an hour with some kids. And in the U.S., American football is very normal to have a PE day where you're playing American football. But that, I think, was one of the coolest ones. It was one of the first trips I ever did. And it was just unique to have, 8 of us literally road tripping, not just getting on a plane and going to another city, but to be road dogs driving up 1 to 2 hours, to Reading, and then up, just following it all the way up the coast. And then we got to Portland and had a couple of days of events and had a really big sort of culmination camp, and then do sort of a pseudo invasion style event up there because, Portland's never going to host the 49ers really, because they don't have an NFL team unless that changes in the foreseeable future. But that was really unique. I guess I'll just throw this one in there too. We got to do something similar on the island of Oahu, and our team has done it a few times, and I got to go one year, and that was really cool. And it was when Defoe was in his second year, I think. So we went to not the high school he attended, because he went to Puno, or it's a private school, but the high school that he would have gone to had he not gotten into that private school. And he just felt really compelled to really take care of the kids in the community that he grew up around in Oahu. So that was really, really cool. So those would be my non-football related ones. Gosh, I feel so fortunate to have been able to see so many NFL cities. Green Bay, I think, takes the cake as far as one of the favorite trips that we've ever done that involved in New Orleans. Really? New Orleans 2019 was very fun, but Green Bay was sort of that bucket list item for me, especially having really had my non-working fandom at its peak. Those years were calm against the Packers. So to go into Green Bay and walk away with a win there in the snow. We did an invasion earlier that day. We'd flown into Milwaukee the night before, got up early, rented a car, drove the 2 hours to Green Bay. 2 hours later, we've got 700 49ers fans in one bar together. And then the NFL said we had to end our event before the first game could kick off. So we ended that. We got to watch the game. And we're tailgating with some fans, and we're having soup in the parking lots because it's so cold.
It's freezing. Coldest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I'm from Maine.
And that's crazy to me. It's cold for us, but we're from California. And then to have been able to walk out of the stadium with a win and know we're going back to the NFC Championship, that's a feeling that that's going to be a forever moment. And then I think the most obvious trip is the Miami trip as an entire staff, to be able to get a +1 to go to Miami with all your coworkers and get there a few days early, and you're not just having holiday work dinners like you would do normally, but you're in South Beach and you're having mojitos with your coworkers, and everything that the York family did for us was absolutely incredible. And then for me, I have a great relationship with our team photographer, Terrell Lloyd. So I got to grip for him during the Super Bowl. So I was on the field, which is another surreal moment, sort of once in a lifetime. Hopefully not, but could be once in a lifetime opportunities. And then, regardless of final score, just to be able to say you were there, behind Tyreek Hill on the opening kickoff that he's receiving, and on the sideline during halftime of Shakira and J-Lo, and then seeing how incredible, just how big the Super Bowl really is.
Mm-hmm.
Those are definitely the standout trips to me. And then I mentioned New Orleans because that's great, and that was the first time we really had like a huge showing of fans at one of our events on the road. Like we always do pretty well, and sort of our gauge is it's got to be around 400 fans to make it truly worth it, and then for that to have been like 1,500, and then for the LA game for the NFC Championship last year to end up being more like 2,000. It's just like, wow, we're really making this a tradition for 49ers fans to really be on the road. Not only do we take care of business at home, but we're going to take care of business and fill seats with red-bearing fans on the road.
Yeah,
it's something that the fan base has become passionate about, something I'm passionate about, and trying to give our team the best competitive advantage as we can.
that's what we do. Go Niners.
Absolutely.
Go faithful.
Nothing like going into Carolina and like just having the whole place be like a home game. Or Jacksonville last year was very similar.
Jacksonville was a great one.
Jacksonville's
I remember
Yep.
people sort of gave me
I was there.
a couple sideways looks of like, Jacksonville? Like, you don't want to go back to Seattle? You don't want to go back to all these different areas? Like, listen, everyone, we haven't been to Jacksonville. Like, literally, the 49ers organization has not played in Jacksonville in 16 years because of the London games. We got to go back here and let these folks have that opportunity. And then we got out there, still thought maybe it was going to be on the smaller side, and Jacksonville, just you get that southeast region of the U.S. loves the 49ers, and it would probably make a fascinating documentary. And then you get all the metropolitan East Coast folks who it's not too far of a flight, or those other areas where you're willing to drive to catch a game. And again, it's so rare, and there's no regularity to being able to be out there. And if you're going to go to a December game, Florida is not a bad place to spend some time watching.
That's true.
That was a great one.
That was a beautiful day.
Come back with a little bit of warmth, a little bit of sun. It was good. It was nice to come back with that. It's good.
We did Cleveland in December several years ago, and it turned out to be a 78-degree day.
Oh, wow.
And we were trying to plan the tailgate party, and we're like, well, what if it snows? What if we can't get in a parking lot somewhere? So it was very last minute. I remember running around to the grocery stores. We're trying to just buy up sandwiches and stuff to have ready for people to show up at a tailgate party in Cleveland because it was so warm. So sometimes in December you get lucky, but we were planning for the worst for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that just sparked, I've been also fortunate to have been able to be a part of go to 3 different countries to represent the Niners. So I have to put that in there. I feel so fortunate to have so many opportunities to be able to travel internationally and represent the Niners. And whether it's been Canada, we went to Calgary back in 2018 with Pierre Garçon and a few other guys, to be able to go to the UK twice this year. First trip was some unfortunate circumstances given that the Queen unfortunately passed away the day that we had arrived, so we had to postpone all of our events, to then being able to go to Mexico City and have 4 days of events. And like I said, normally we maxed out about 2,000 people. We had 4 days in a row, 12,000 people came across those 4 days with a peak of 5,000 people on the Sunday before the game. So it was a good trip. And I know I was saying before we started that I'm finally recovered. As part of that is long 8 to 10 hour days with just engaging with fans from the
Tequila
U.S.
will do
Mexico.
Yeah.
So, a little gotta try the local favorites while you're there.
Of course.
So now, Nick, with going over to like the UK and going to Mexico, like what goes into the type of like planning? Like, can you kind of give us like a behind the scenes look? Because I know it's not like, all right, let's pick a place, let's get everybody there. Like there's got to be more detail to it. Can you let us, give us a little insight into that process?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think the first thing is to figure out what do we want to accomplish while we're there, right? And for us, we are with the international program that the NFL has set up is teams had to apply for different countries to be able to add them to your market, right? So we've got the Bay Area and roughly officially 50 miles from Levi Stadium is our official market. We obviously know that the impact of our fan base goes far beyond there, even in California, right? I like to say from Napa, well, let's call it Sacramento to Monterey is really where you get that heavy presence of 49ers football. But what do we want to accomplish while we're there? And this is year 1 of 5. So a lot of it is let's go out there and learn from the fans that we know that are established 49ers fans that live in this area. What is their experience like being a 49ers fan? And then how do we enhance it a little bit in year 1? And then let's take those learnings, which will put our heads together once the football season ends and figure out what do we want to start doing in year 2. So that way year 3, we're starting to hit some of the metric goals that we want, whether that's data collection, whether that's creating new partnerships, that way we can create more in-person experiences for these fans in these areas. And then depending on how the NFL plans some of this stuff out, right? So for UK, it's a lot of, no guarantees, but hopefully we'll have a game out there again soon. And we can start building up the fan base to that game. Versus Mexico, it's very unique where year 1, your game is in Mexico City, like jump right into the deep end and then make sure that you're building that out for long-term success as well. So as far as the planning process goes, UK, super duper unique because the best game for them is a 10 a.m. West Coast game. So we only had 2 of them on the schedule for this year. So if we're going to do something, we should probably do something around those and really get to know the fans that are established fans that are going to want to come together for a unique experience because that happens so rarely for them. We have a natural partnership with Leeds United, given some of the ownership stake that we have with that organization in the English Premier League. So, and then talking to the fans that are out there before we planned anything else was, hey, what is your perspective on doing a 49ers event? And let's say it is around a game day, right? Obviously, it's got to be the right kickoff time. If you try to do it, so it ends up being a 6 p.m., a 9 p.m., or 1:30 a.m. kickoff for them. Obviously, we're not going to do the 1:30, 9 p.m. You're still, how are you going to convince a lot of people on a Sunday to gather together? And then you got to find a pub that would stay open late enough to watch the entire game. So really, it's okay. We got to find a 6 p.m. game. And then it is location-wise. I think naturally as Americans, especially on the West Coast, it's easy to say, we'll go to the big city, go to London, find a good pub and do an event there. And in talking to the fans that we have out there that are the hardcore fans, shout out to the 49er Faithfuls UK and Lee and his crew, had many, many conversations. And a lot of what we learned is that, there are fans throughout the entire country. There's fans in Ireland, there's fans in Scotland, Wales, and then the other European countries that, the flight from Germany or the flight from Italy to the UK, they'll make that trip, once a year or a couple times a year, because it's not nearly as difficult or straining to go all the way to California. So then it's like, okay, well, we're figuring out that London may not be the best location, easiest to fly in and out of, but for the locals in England or the UK specifically, London's very expensive, not only to travel to, but to stay there overnight. And quite frankly, if you're going to have a 6 p.m. kickoff event that's going to end around 9:30, let's say, to have those folks try and rush back onto a train to get back home, to then try to go to work the next day, it's going to be difficult. So let's try to do something that's a little bit more understanding for the fans. And then also, which, it's not going to please everyone, right? The fan who lives in London is like, wait a minute, how'd that work? But being able to build that, and then the relationship with Leeds United really was great for us to help and really learn, especially in this year 1, to understand the dynamics of what is professional sports in the UK versus what is the professional sport experience in the United States. Then finding a venue that's big enough. And if any of you have been to to the UK, a lot of pubs are smaller. So we really had to put in our effort and do some research to find out, could we find a place that could house, 300, 400, maybe more plus. So we found a really cool place. Box, we did a lot of research. So Box and Brotherhood were sort of the top two that we had in the UK that we really loved building a relationship with. We ended up hosting this first event at Box. Went really, really well. And just you get to the game and you just hope for the best. And unfortunately, it was our Atlanta Falcons game this year that didn't go as we had hoped on the field. But when the game was over, so many of us, our staff that were there, we still celebrated a successful week of travel just because it was getting Sourdough Sam, getting an alumni, getting all of the media pieces in place, being able to capture so much content, meet and establish our relationships with our agency, with Leeds United, with the fans there, and really meeting them on a face-to-face level and getting to know them because you're having conversations with them for weeks and months, and then meeting new fans and understanding what it is like for the Scottish fan and the Irish fan and the English fan. And it was still a celebration and a coming together of 49ers fans, regardless of what the final score was. So that was really cool in the UK. And then Mexico has a little bit of an easier, it's easier in some ways because it's closer, right? It's depending on where you are in the country, it's the same time zone or it's a slightly different, it's only a couple hours. And then, San Francisco obviously is a Spanish word, being that Mexico, Spanish is the primary language. There's a lot of natural tendencies. The NFL is one of the top watched sports in Mexico versus the UK. It's a little bit further down the list. And with the success of the organization, 5 Super Bowls over 75 years, like people know the 49ers. If they, grew up in the 80s or 90s, they know the success of the 49ers. And if you're on the younger side, even in the past 12 years, you've seen 2 Super Bowls with the 49ers represented at least. So a lot of those, it comes a little bit easier in that way. But then you do have the language barrier, and that's something that is definitely much more difficult than I think than you can sort of just pass on. It's a really difficult thing to overcome, but the hospitality down there is amazing, and there's so many folks who are willing to work with you because they know the 49ers, and they know what it is. And then I think we saw 78,000 people were at Azteca Stadium or Estadio Azteca. And from what I actually was hosting a watch party in Mexico for the folks that couldn't get tickets to the game, but from everything I heard, it was 95% 49ers fan, 4% mixed NFL fans, and 1% Cardinals fans. So it was quite the experience to have been out there. And, a lot of that is that few days of events that we had to sort of help spark that, I want to go experience it even if I can't get to the game. And then if they end up with tickets to the game, but even if they don't, they get to have the 49ers experience. And it's not just the fans who from the U.S. that traveled or folks who live in Mexico City, but it's all the different states in Mexico, whether it's Monterrey or Jalisco, Cancun, Cabo, all those fans all get to come to Mexico City, which I think is a really unique experience. And I know we're hoping to be able to have that experience again, not have to wait another 17 years before we have another game there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Hey, so out of all of the events that you have personally curated or, took over and helped foster in advance, is there one that's like your baby, the one that you look forward most to doing?
That's a really good question. They're all my babies, so it's hard to pick a favorite.
He's running for office, folks.
Yeah. No, invasions are obviously extremely unique, and I love doing that. I enjoy traveling, and it's funny. I had a friend of mine who went to the Rams game in LA at SoFi a few weeks ago, and he sort of worded it perfectly, where it's like it's kind of more fun to be the villain on the road than to be the good guy at home. So that's sort of a fun experience in itself. I would say that I really love a lot of the programs that we do that I get to run, whether it be our kids club, our women's club, 49ers Pride, and our supporters club, because it is finding those unique demographics of fans, right? For kids, right? They choose their fandom basically by the time you're 11 years old, and you pretty much stick with it for the rest of your life. That's what a lot of the research says. So being able to tap into families, and it's not always going to be the families where it's 49ers parents and they hand it off to their kids. We get a lot of those, but then a lot of times there's going to be the kids who are figuring out whether it's a first generation American who's growing up in the Bay Area and they don't really know about American football. And that's sort of the transition to American culture, and to be that outlet, I think is really, really cool. And even if, however you're becoming a 49ers fan, if we can have those curated moments, because as a kid, you're not going to be able to afford a 49ers game ticket necessarily, and you can't take yourself to a game either. But what are those other experiences that we can have? So we try to do at least one event per month in season. We're getting ready for our holiday party here in the next few weeks, where we can bring kids to the stadium, meet Sourdough, meet the Gold Rush, come to a club level, right? Because how often do you get to come to a club level, even if you can't afford tickets? So bring people to unique areas around the stadium that they may not regularly get to see if they do get to come to a game day, or if they never get to come to the stadium ever, and really build that that relationship. It doesn't have anything to do with the winning or losing on the field. It has to do with the experience that you have with the 49ers brand. So that's really unique for the kids club. Similarly with Women of the Niners, just because we know for years and years that women have been historically ignored as a fan base, and it's quite frankly ridiculous, because if you look at a lot of the, let's just look at the exact revenue of it all, like women spend more on the NFL than men do. So that's a unique one. And women are just as passionate. They're just as big as fans. They know everything about it.
They represent better than we do.
Absolutely.
That is correct.
It's the truth. That's the flat out truth.
And you still, to this day, you still hear stories where, unfortunately, we still need to have a place where women can be women fans among women, because there's still not that equal footing, but we're working really hard to get that as equal as we can. So that's a unique one that we get to do. And we get to have, again, unique experiences. We'll do watch parties, but we'll do stuff away from the game. And how do we get to know the game of football, or bring people together around the game of football in unique ways? And I think the event that we do with the kiddos, with the yoga, I think is a really good example where, is it directly football? Not necessarily, but you get to learn a new thing with, someone who's related to a player, or we've done it with former players too. And then you get to have a Q&A, and you get to understand how this passion piece outside of football affects inside of football, which is really, really cool. 49ers Pride was a program that I actually got to work with our executives and launch. So as opposed to the other two were sort of inherited work that I got when I got to the team, with Pride, it's another demographic of fans where for decades, especially in the Bay Area, we have fans of the LGBTQ+ community, and they sort of just been historically ignored across sports around the world. And we're starting to see that flip and that change. And what's really, really cool was to see that domino effect when we launched in 2019. We're the only organization we're still to this day the only organization to have a club for fans that are able to gather together, to have virtual and in-person events, to do a watch party in the Castro in San Francisco, to have been in our San Francisco Pride Parade and our Silicon Valley Pride Parade. So that one's really passionate about that one. And then to have seen, just in the last 3 years, we're now to about a third of the teams are acknowledging Pride Month. And, we've got a long way to go, because there's a lot to be said about rainbow washing and how genuine or ingenuine that is. But it is a first step to acknowledgement. And I think that the Niners have had a huge piece in being that domino effect to see more change across the landscape of not only the NFL and not only professional sports in North America, but hopefully on a global scale. So that's been really cool. And then most recently, our supporters club has just been a really cool project that we started last year, and we're still we're fine-tuning it to make sure that it's the best that it can be for our fans, because it is meant to be our first club that can really bring together fans on a global scale. I appreciate you hosting that poster up. I think that's really cool.
Welcome. You're welcome.
I was going to say, I don't have mine upstairs.
This is year two. Yeah. I had to wait for this one this year.
Right.
So that was
year two. And I think that poster is super cool. I think we could do a little bit better job of showcasing how it is, but it is the 49ers locker room. It's got some of the perennial stars of the current team, and you get to feature your last name in the locker room.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool piece of it. It's a physical gift, right? And then a lot of it is for those fans that especially live further away from California, whether it be domestically or internationally, is getting some tangible 49ers gear into the hands of the fans. And then what we're working really hard on is to sort of grow the web part of it as well. It's part of the whole thought process of this was in 2020 when we all became much more digitally interfaced. We all got much more comfortable with that sort of programming is, can we create content that's more on the digital side? Yes, we still want to get at least a package out to fans of physical gear from anywhere, but let's create more and more content that's going to be exclusive. It's going to be behind a paywall, so you're going to pay something for it, but you're going to get more content that's going to be for that higher level of fan. It's not just going to be what you find on 49ers.com, which that's probably our biggest struggle is we have such great content on 49ers.com is how do we make even greater content? So we're actively working on that and how we can do that. And we've got an amazing team that's working on that. I oversee a lot of that, but Amber Wyatt, she's been part of it for the last 2 years. Sydney, who's been a part of our team this year, and then so many folks on the digital team and the 49ers Studios team that put so much hard work into it. So we really want to grow that, and we're working through how we can do it more for the UK fans and more for the Mexico fans and everywhere else. But that's sort of the passion project currently right now to sort of get that thing really humming and going into year 3 of that. But I get to do a lot of cool stuff, so it's really a unique role. A lot of cool
stuff, Nick.
Very happy to do it.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
I will say it is always very funny when people are like, "Hey Nick, how do I get your job?" Like, I really want it. Like, no, it's a fun job. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of work. So, if you're willing to work 60-hour weeks from July to February and give up all your holidays, then yes, sign right on up. And you sort of get a pause and they're like, I think I'll just go to
yeah.
All good.
That's good stuff, Nick. Last one for me, because we know you have to go. What advice can you share with any faithful going to Levi Stadium for the first time or going to a road game for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think going to Levi Stadium for the first time, especially if you're someone who's coming to the Bay Area in general for the first time, like just as much as we will always be the San Francisco 49ers, and even though we're not in San Francisco, a lot of times people will want to plan that whole trip around seeing some of the historic landmarks and the famous pieces of San Francisco. And I would just say make sure that you give yourself the time to do that. And then the day of game or even the day before the game, you want to book your lodging closer to the stadium. That's just going to help your travel a lot more. Exactly. If you can get walking distance, whether it be the Marriott or the Hyatt, or once some of the newer hotels are done that are under construction now, that's just logistically. I always jump to logistics first, and then as far as fun, like you're gonna want to see the 49ers Museum. You're gonna want to check out some of the amazing tailgates that we have, and there's whether it be the Empire Row areas of Greenlawn or there's just so much that or if you want to buy into the what they call it, Red Zone Rally area where you're getting food and beverage and get to check out some of the Great America theme park for the few years that is still up. There's so much to do, so just give yourself the ample time and try to eliminate as much of the travel that you have to on game day, so that way you can try to experience as much of it as you want. And then as far as purchasing tickets, I'm biased, but I do think that every seat's a pretty good seat in the house. Obviously, if you're in the top corners, it can be a little bit more difficult, but it's still, you're going to get the all 22, and the video boards that we have at Levi Stadium are tremendous. I know we all love Candlestick Park, but there's definitely no arguing that the video boards are much better at Levi Stadium. And then logistically, it's a beautiful ballpark. And it's, I don't know, you got to be there to really enjoy it, and then get in your seat early, enjoy the show, yell on defense, stay quiet on offense, and hopefully come away with 49ers dub. And then, if it's an afternoon game and you're staying close by, you can check out a number of places in Santa Clara. And I think in the next number of years, once all the construction across the street, the golf course completes, I think you're going to really see the pregame experience and the postgame experience really take off for 49ers fans, which is going to be really cool. And I think it's already great, but I think it's going to be taken to a whole nother level. And then for away games, I think the biggest thing is I always, when the schedule comes out, I talk to a lot of the communities of fans and try to figure out what sort of are the big ones that people want to travel to. And that's typically how the organization and myself will choose what we want to do. And then obviously adding in the factors of, Jacksonville hasn't had a 49ers game in 16 years. Let's show them some love, a little bit of balance. And then we try to keep it as fair as we can. And the NFL schedule makers don't always make that easy, but ideally, if we could do one in the metropolitan East Coast, one in the southern region, one sort of Midwest or Texas and then one of our NFC West opponents. I think that's sort of our ideal. This year's sort of a little bit funkier because we had Atlanta filled that South one, and then Denver was sort of our Midwest kind of, and then we had LA, and that just the schedule made up perfectly. And then the last one is just, how are we going to pass the first time the Niners play the Raiders in Las Vegas, especially if it's New Year's Eve? We know that that's a big rivalry game. So that's how it worked out this year. And then we were fortunate to be able to also do events in Mexico City. So for the tips, I would say pick the city that you want to go to. If it happens to be one of the 49ers Evasion events, like check in with 49ers.com. We'll be posting about where we're going to be, what the event is going to be like. Definitely want to come check it out. You'll walk away with a free giveaway regardless, and then you'll maybe be lucky enough to walk away with a higher valued item, whether that's game worn memorabilia, autographed memorabilia. Could win tickets to the game as well. So do that, and then I would just say go on Instagram or Facebook and look up some of the who are the local 49ers fans that are out there. You can also go to 49ers.com and check out what chapters of fans that we have across the world. But find some of those groups and figure out what they're doing too, because as the Niners, we'll do some stuff, but it's the local fans that want to show off their city as well. And that's a great opportunity, whether it be one of the late night parties, the tailgates, the pregame, stuff like that, I think is one of the unique things that people don't think of necessarily when they book an away trip, is they sort of want to do all the things that they think they want to do, which you should absolutely do, but then also add to your trip. You don't have to do as much planning. Someone local is going to plan something for you. So find out that information and do some of that.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Nick, real quick, we go into the Super Bowl?
Oh, I would love that. We had such a great experience a couple years ago going to Super Bowl 54. Obviously, we want to get the job done. So would love to see it. I'm excited to see how these last few weeks play out. And it's obviously an extremely talented team. So
I was just going to ask you your thoughts on this coming game with McDaniel coming back.
I think it's going to be extremely exciting to see so many of those former Niners coming back to Levi Stadium. So I know we're excited about it. There was some buzz that maybe it could have been flexed into Sunday Night Football. It did not. But I think it's one of those games that definitely needed consideration given where these two teams are at. And I'm just excited to see the building ready to rock and roll. And I think, sort of both organizations, I think it sometimes takes the wider sports verse to realize two good teams. And then you get to the week 13s, and you're like, wait a minute, there's two good football teams that are meeting together, and one's an AFC team, one's an NFC team, and there could be some fireworks. And I'm not talking about the game day entertainment team.
All right, thank you, Nick.
Yeah, of course.
We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
No,
it was great.
Appreciate you all reaching out, and I'm excited to have been able to come on. And if we want to do this again, you guys know how to reach me, and really appreciate it. And hopefully everyone's been entertained.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We definitely would love to connect down the road.
Perfect. Well, appreciate y'all. Let's get some more wins, and let's do this again.
Heck yeah.
All right. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners. See y'all.
Go Niners.
All right, so that was Nick Clarke. Nick, thanks again for joining us. It's amazing, all like the insight, just the behind the scenes, and what everything that has to go into all that. The road invasions. I mean, we've all been to road invasions, and it's just you meet new faithful, you meet up with people. Like he said, like the free giveaways, the memorabilia, all that stuff. It's really cool thing to do the day before the game.
Most definitely. And it's so cool. Everybody just congregates together from all over the country, in this one
The
city
world.
at a time. The world, really, correct. I stand corrected. It is the world. Because I have met people from not here
I was
at these
standing in
events, and
Chicago
it's
next to a
awesome.
guy from Vancouver, Canada, and a guy from Denmark, and
Hmm.
I was from Maine, and we're just all together. And I'm like,
Yeah,
no way. Like,
exactly.
there would be no other reason for the three of us to be standing together during that time frame, right? Except
Yeah,
for 49 football. But like
exactly.
Alaska, Hawaii, like everybody has met somebody from some random place. Like I tell people I'm from Maine, and they think like, what, huh, what? So confusing. And they always go with, "Are you from the Bay Area originally?" When I tell them no, they're completely confused. It's
Yeah.
just like,
Like, how are
what?
you a 49ers fan?
What? And then you tell them the story.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a good time.
Go ahead, Maddie. You're up.
Am I up?
You are
I
up.
am up. Wow, it is that time. I thought there was going to be like a little lead in, I thought there was going to be a little something there, but that's fine. No, we're good. We're good. Welcome back, everybody. Listen, as you know, we're part of the IE Sports Radio Network, and for the last 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country, and of course, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, ready to take that next step. Go to the website, iesportsradio.com. You'll see our Patreon link. It's got 5 different tiers. Cinco for our Spanish-speaking brethren, because I know we made a lot of friends in Mexico City, I'm sure. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all the shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to the podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on the segment of the flagship show, The Defining Moment. Again, iesportsradio.com. And thanks for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Let us get back to the stuff, gang.
To the
Thank
stuff.
you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so let's talk about the Saints game. What do you guys got? Go ahead, Ty.
Oh, win no Saints. Go marching home. Scoring 0 points. They go marching home.
You've been saving that all week.
That was pretty good. I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah.
I wish someone was playing a trumpet in the background, honestly.
Hold on, I'll pull up the video.
Yeah, right.
There was talk that this would be a trap game. They would get their revenge from 2019 and a lot of stuff. And we got the job done. Everyone's saying it was an ugly win, but you know what? A win is a win. The defense stepped up, did their thing. Boom, another victory, baby. It was an exciting, on the edge of your seat kind of game for me. So I'm just happy we got the dub.
Yeah, I think for me, the defense led by Fred Warner and Talanoa Hufanga, like they were flying around all over the place. And then, the offense, they did just enough just to put points on the board. And yeah, you know what? It wasn't a perfect game, and and it wasn't the win that we're, used to. But we got the job done, and it was a scrappy game, just like the game we played against the Chargers. And we got to be prepared for those types of games. And I think this is going to help us out in the long run.
Exactly. This is one of those games that I always says builds character and builds a championship mindset, because you got to gut it out to win.
Exactly.
Right, man.
Well,
Oh, no.
I hope you're right. I do. I think the red zone issues that we continue to see, and all those penalties again, like that has to get cleaned up. We are not winning Super Bowls playing like that against elite teams. That is going to be the death nail when you get down to the hard knocks end of the season. if you have the opportunities to score like we've had and the time and possession on the clock that we've had in a game like against the Saints, we should have put up a lot more points and be taking care of business a little bit better than we were. I mean, doing just enough to win is still a win. You're right. It's ugly, but it's productive. But when it gets down to brass tacks at the later part of the season, I don't think it's going to be enough. We got to clean that up. Absolutely clean that up.
Go ahead, Maddie.
I want to be really disappointed in the offense and all the other stuff. And yeah, losing Elijah Mitchell was kind of a big suck. If you want to talk about that, that was a big suck. But short week, Thanksgiving week.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming off of a trip that most people are getting a bye week after. You get a win. Defense is still fairly healthy for the most part.
Yep.
And you get that win on that week when a lot of teams would have just, earlier in the year, they would have lost this game. If this game had happened in September, they would have lost it.
I feel that.
There's just
plus with all the injuries we had early season too, I don't think we would have won.
Exactly. There's just a multiple step progression for this team that we've actually been able to watch right in front of us, really, right? And it's kind of happened each year, but they don't get out the gates, catching fire, but they kind of move forward from there, and they continue to get progressively better and progressively improve. And the defense right now is, about as good as it's going to be. The next thing we got to make sure is they're able to clamp down on teams on 3rd and long on big games, on big plays, right? Like,
we have to
one thing to do it against Andy Dalton.
How many 3rd and whatever did we let them convert? I lost count at one point.
The way I look at it is this: Andy Dalton's a little different than Patrick Mahomes, even Tua for that matter. So, we'll talk about Miami in a little bit, but this is still one of those wins. Like, not every game is going to be 38-10, guys. It's just not. It's not going to happen. And for this one to even be where it was, and for Jawan Jennings, 3rd and Jawan, by the way,
3rd and Jawan,
it's official.
3rd and Jawan.
For him to come up big in that game and really become that Jimmy Garoppolo security blanket. Who would have thought with all these weapons, McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo and Brandon Ayuk, and Jawan Jennings is like your 3rd down guy, right? He's your 3rd down slot guy. I really, that's why I was always kind of like, are we really going to try to do multi-years for OBJ to replace him? Like, he seems to fit, right? And he fits.
Yeah, totally.
So, head to head, he's probably not going to beat OBJ in like an NFL draft combine, but he does what we need to do. And sometimes that's more valuable. And that's what happens in this case. So also, I think Jennings should probably buckle a seatbelt on an airplane, but that's a story for another time.
Hey, we got a comment from Melissa saying, y'all see Dre Greenlaw say 3 was enough. Oh, we got this on lockdown. I did see that. And you know what? It reminds me of the mindset of the 2000 Ravens. And I'm not saying this defense is like the 2000 Ravens. I'm not saying that. But their mindset was, you just give us a few points and we will lock it down. And I remember Ray Lewis telling the story of they once scored just a touchdown on offense. This was the first quarter. And when the offense came to the sideline, Ray Lewis looked at Shannon Sharp and said, game's over. We got it. It's done. Because that was their mindset. Like, we're going to lock them down. And for our defense to have that type of mindset, the championship mindset, I like it.
You're 100% correct. You are not going to get where you need to go. And for us as like fans of this team to see what they need, like, their quarterback is their quarterback right now. He's going to progress into who he is. I think he's progressed a lot this year, especially with the guy that just got fired from Kentucky. We'll talk about that later. Sometimes you don't even have to put karma in the microwave. It's just like really good chili. It's really nice.
Love it.
But
Wait, Maddie, were you just saying that James Arthur has progressed this year?
if you compare him to last year, you look at the stats, right?
Okay.
Stats
I'm
don't
just
lie.
making sure. I'm just making,
I mean, is he going to come out this year and be a completely different player?
I'm,
Like,
I'm,
is he
well,
going
I'm
to come
making
out
sure
this
Ty
week and-
actually, was
Yeah,
listening.
I'm
there's
with you. I'm with you.
there's no, please don't ever think anytime I give anything to, it's so tough, man. Like, we're talking about we're talking about the guy with like the highest winning percentage as a quarterback in team history, right? And you can't even like give him a micro bit of criticism because it's almost like, oh, does that mean you don't like Trey Lance? It's almost scary, right?
Yeah,
like
I
I feel
know.
like that's
Yeah,
I feel like that's how it is because that has nothing to do
Yeah.
with it. Like, this team decided that they were going to trade 3 number 1 picks for a quarterback that they thought was going to progress to have a higher ceiling than the one that they currently have. However, that guy got hurt, right?
Exactly.
He'll be back
Mhm.
next year.
That's
He's
the bottom
learning in
line.
the meantime, right? Would I like to see him out there getting snaps right now? Yes. Would we all like to see him out there getting snaps right now? Yes. But we now have this healthy version of Jimmy Garoppolo who didn't get a training camp with everybody, kind of gets into shape, but now has a brand new quarterback room. Brian Greasy and Kyle Shanahan's involved. And there's some other folks that are involved as well. And his game has stepped up a little bit, right? And the talent level around him has stepped up a little bit. And now the defense has stepped up a little bit. So can all those incremental steps get them to where they need to be? They led 3 quarters in 2019, right? Like they were 1 quarter away from winning a Super Bowl.
10 minutes.
Have all of these incremental stuff got them to that point where they can make this happen? We got a long time to find out, but early returns are fairly promising, right? Like, I think we match up really well with just about anybody in the NFC.
Indeed. I
So,
agree with that.
And if you can get through the NFC, like, we don't know who's going to be left in the AFC. What if it's Tennessee? We don't know. What's Baltimore? I don't know. Like, it'd probably be Miami, but we don't know, right? Could be Buffalo.
Exactly.
No idea. They're all going to be beaten to a pulp at the end of it. I think it's going to be a little bit similar in the NFC, but I don't think quite as bad. I think every single round of those playoffs are going to be that, but that's a conversation for later. But just to go back and kind of wrap a bow on this New Orleans game, that is the type of game that if you want to win on the road in December or January somewhere, you need to be able to win that game at home when you're coming off of that long road trip, that emotional game on the week of a holiday, and you come out and win kind of an ugly game, and you win it, and you keep the scoreboard clean as a sheet. That's a huge win, man. That's one of the bigger wins in this franchise's recent history, actually, to be honest with you, because it's one of those next progressive steps, right? Like, you want to see this team be 11-6, 12-5, 13-4. That's kind of the range you want to be, because if they do that, they should win the division every year, based on the way this division is. And winning games like that and not losing games like the Denver game, which to me are very similar games, right? Very kind of similar vibes.
Completely.
Big progression. Huge step.
Well, I definitely think it's a confidence builder for the defense. I mean, they have to be feeling pretty good about being able to stop the Saints multiple times in the red zone and not allow any points at all to get put on the board. And I just think that that's a testament to their grit and their fortitude and their attitude towards how they want to go in and play. They're not giving up a single snap to anybody at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And to keep the score and keep their streak alive, is definitely a confidence builder for them. So, I think that's something they're going to carry into the next game too. And we need it. We're going to need it there for sure.
Yeah. And you see him playing team defense, like that goal line stand with the fumble was complete team defense. Greenlaw holding on.
Exactly.
His teammate coming in, popping the ball up. Once the ball's up in the air, you saw 5, 6 other guys come into the frame, all jumping for the ball.
Keeping Juwan Johnson from it because he had the cleanest shot at it. Like that was almost a slop. That was almost a slop touchdown. Like that was in that. I don't know if you guys saw that Tennessee game where Derrick Henry dropped it and Treylon Burks ended up picking up for a touchdown. The fantasy people were really upset about that touchdown because I guess like the different scoring, the different whatever, like the different companies that do it all score it differently, and they're all confused about it. There was going to be another one just like that, and it was going to be in that game. Like tight end was going to get a cheapy touchdown out of the air, but didn't happen. Because of that team mindset that you just talked about. They treated it like a rugby scrum. Like it wasn't, I've got to jump on this ball and go run 106 yards the other way, right? It was, I've got to jump on this ball now. Okay, I don't have a good one, so I need to block somebody who's trying to go for this ball. I need to hit somebody who's trying to go for this ball, so maybe he's got a better shot at it. Like that was also that team mindset. It was one of those little microcosms, one of those little micro examples of just little things, little bonding things that are tightening up with this team.
Well, and not stopping. I mean, not giving up until the play is over. I mean, when the ball came loose and you take, if you freeze that frame, there are 6-7 red jerseys right there in the area because everybody's coming to the play. They're not stopping like, oh, all right, I'm over here. I'm just going to jog my way across the field and give a half an effort. No, they're all there. They're all fully engaged every single play. So yeah.
And even after the game, you heard Nick Bosa say, I should have ran to the ball faster. Because he was the last one to come in.
Yeah.
He's like, I should have ran faster. He wanted to be part of that scrum. So that shows you their mindset and how they're all on one accord. We got to get this ball. We got to get the job done. I love it.
Ty, you just got to say that with a lot more chill in your voice.
That's true.
Ran to the ball.
I should have got there.
The Nick Bosa style there.
This defense is just too good.
Yeah.
But
they're fun to watch.
Yeah, they are fun to watch. But this definitely needs to be cleaned up for sure.
Third and long, every third and long, I'm on the edge of my seat, just like, oh my God, please get him off the field, get him off the field, get him off the field.
It's mind-blowing, right? They work so hard to get them in these third down situations and then give it up every single time, almost every single time.
I actually feel better about 3rd and 7 than I do 3rd and long at this point. Like, over the next 3 weeks, by the way, fun fact, we got some pretty solid 3rd and long teams that are coming in, right? Like, we know about Miami. And it's not like their head coach wasn't an offensive coordinator before. I feel like we may have some ideas on how to attack this defense. Could be wrong.
I don't know.
But hold on that thought. I will take 3rd and 3 over 3rd and 16 any day of the week.
Yeah, because you might get lucky. The other team might try to run it, right? Like if the other team tries to run it, forget it. If it's not the quarterback running it on a broken play, like they're probably not going to get it.
Yeah.
So kind of one of those deals. But over the next 3 weeks, not only that, you got Miami, you got Tampa, and then you've got the road game in Seattle, and that's another. I've already got that circle in my calendar for impending doom.
I never ever discount any of our divisional games. I just never do. Those are always the sneak attack that you lose and you shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in Seattle.
Last year's game was the prime example of it. There was no excuse for that game to happen or to end the way it did, and it did.
Start the way it did from the beginning.
None of it. Fake punt. Get me out of here.
Yeah. Back to the Saints. What do you guys think about the offense? 49ers offense.
You know what? They
offensive,
didn't.
Or was it just bad offense?
I thought they were decent. It kind of stinks that they didn't really get a lot going. But like I said earlier, they did enough to, put points on the board. But, I think that going forward, I think they are clicking. Regardless of that game, I think they are clicking. I think they are coming together. It stinks that Elijah Mitchell's going to be out again for 6 to 8 weeks. Christian McCaffrey's dealing with knee irritation, but hopefully he'll be good to go on Sunday. I was excited to see Jordan Mason out there. I've been wanting to see him, and Kyle was raving about him that there were still like over 6 minutes left, and we didn't want the D going out there again. The defense didn't want to go out there, and he just kept running, getting those first downs. He did really well, so I'm really pumped to see him. on Sunday.
So I have to say, Ty, I know you love Mike McGlinchey. But he's the only one who did not allow a quarterback hit last week in that game. The only one.
Wild, isn't it?
It's crazy, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, the O-line just they got pressured pretty hard from the Saints defense. But I saw that statistic and I thought, oh, wonder what Ty's gonna think about that.
It was wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think between the penalties and just Jimmy being under pressure and not getting some calls that other quarterbacks would have, he took some hard knocks. He really did, and kept getting up and going back after
he
it.
hung in there though.
He did,
and delivering the ball and stuff. He definitely hung in there.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he did throw the classic Jimmy duck a couple times and got lucky there. But I think he just was under pressure a lot, and he performed, I felt like, a lot better under pressure than he normally does for Jimmy. James Arthur was trying to stay Jimmy G, not change clothes there.
The Saints had a great defensive game plan. They just took away all the short stuff. They just stayed short, took away the short stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Said, if you want to try to beat us on the outside, go for it.
Yeah.
Because they were just singling up the outsides all day, and they kept the middle of the field packed and short.
Mm-hmm.
They know that's where we like to throw, so they just keyed on that. Stop the run, stop the short throw.
Yeah.
So it made it tough. We still moved the ball on them.
Yeah.
Just choked in the red zone. They made plays. What can you do? You got to give the defense credit sometimes too.
Right.
So
but forcing Jimmy to throw long balls, I mean, that's where he struggles. I mean, he was wildly inconsistent. You saw those long passes that would have been touchdowns with other quarterbacks that, Jimmy's overthrowing, underthrowing, just wherever he's throwing.
He missed that wheel route to McCaffrey. That would have been a big play.
Yeah.
And it was
he missed McCaffrey twice. One would have been a touchdown. One was a solid. I think Juwan Jennings dropped the pass that would have been a first down. McCaffrey was wide open and would have had the first down. Without anybody around him. So he did miss a couple of people open. So it wasn't, to me, a great game by Jimmy. They did just enough to win, and then all the penalties. It was just like every play, the flags were just flying.
Well, sometimes these refs are flag happy anyway, But I think the Saints defense, they're really good and they were relatively healthy. So the fact that we kind of played decent against a defense like that, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, we talk about all of the Niner fans talk about how our defense is getting healthy. We're going to get this guy back and get healthy. Well, Saints got a bunch of guys back and got healthy for our game. And I tweeted during the game, they're playing like they got Bounty Gate still on. They just whacked Jimmy in the face, in the head twice, 2 times, back to back. And the refs didn't throw anything.
Nope.
It was like, are you kidding me? And then when the guy jumped on his leg, it was like blatant. In the middle, he didn't care that he might get a penalty. He truly just dove for him. And I'm like, wait a minute. If Greenlaw could get ejected for an accidental hit, why can't this guy get ejected for blatantly going after our quarterback's legs?
Yeah.
That was terrible.
And they did get called for some of the obvious shoving and pushing they did out of bounds and things like that, which is great. Call those. But some of these other plays where they're more injury prone type of plays, don't go after Jimmy's leg. That should have been called, and it wasn't. And some of those other hits where he's as Melissa even says here in the chat, he's on the ground wincing because he's writhing in pain after getting hit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought they should have made a couple calls. They didn't. And yet the flags, were just.
Well, it's the beginning of the game. Okay. So the referee, the head referee, we all know his job is when players get close to the quarterback, he's supposed to focus on the quarterback to make sure there's no roughing or things of that nature going on. So when that pocket collapsed, he should have been focused on the quarterback. He should have been looking right at Jimmy, which
He
I'm
had one
sure he
job.
was.
One
He's got
job.
that one job.
Yep.
And there's no way you can tell me that Jimmy gets a helmet to his face on one play, and then two guys punch him in the head on another play, and the referee doesn't see it. That's atrocious. I can't.
Drake Greenlaw got ejected
Yeah.
for the previous week, and
I-
everybody was hands down. Everybody, all of them, even though like he got hit by, I believe it was Jimmy Ward hit him from behind
Yeah.
and hit him into Greenlaw.
He was a runner. He was going down. He wasn't down. It was a bang bang play. I get that.
He got thrown out and a flag called, and everybody was like, I was justified. And yeah, I saw the same thing happen. I see the same thing happen to Lamar Jackson every week, and I'm always amazed. But to see it happen to Jimmy, like what? Twice? Like back-to-back plays? Like, was it the previous week or was it this week where Debo had his face mask ripped too, and they didn't call it?
It was
last
week.
week.
It was last week.
I mean, they literally almost tore his head completely. He almost went full exorcist. No call.
Because he came off going like, "Hey, like
like hello."
Yeah.
Hello.
I don't know how Kyle's head hasn't mushroom cloud yet. Like
he was going nuts though. You saw him. He was literally cursing, just cursing at the refs.
You get to swear at the refs, and then they take money from you from the league office. What a great reward! Congratulations, right? Like what a suck, man. Like at some point those calls have to keep going. Like they can't just continue to roll up against us. So hopefully they can continue to rise through. But my goodness, like you just expect the worst call at the worst possible time right now. Like that's how it is. And Melissa, you're 100%. Like that's honestly what it felt like.
Tried to help
time
them.
there was anything. That was the other thing too. Every time the offense seemed to get something on track, here comes the flag. Flag at what like. Whatever.
Well, think about this play. The Saints they went for it on fourth down. That 4th and 7, 4th and 1. I forgot what it was. And it was when Taysom Hill rolled out to the left. He threw the pass. It was incomplete, but Nick Bosa was chasing him. Nick Bosa takes one step, hits him in the shoulder, knocks him to the ground. Perfectly legal. They throw a flag, roughing the passer. That shouldn't have been a flag.
Yeah.
How is that a flag? But Jimmy G getting punched in the head is not a flag. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I thought that was a crappy call too.
Yeah.
It's just like every play was like, what now?
But then I guess we could say that the refs kind of let one go at the end, the 4th and goal, when Nick Bosa looks like he had a little bit of an early start.
See, I was looking at that, and it looked like he moved when the left tackle moved.
He timed it perfectly.
If you look at it, moved at the same time. So
I did go back and watch that a couple times, and I couldn't tell.
Right.
I even slowed it down too.
Yeah, I tried to too, but I was like, all right, without a perfect, down the lane look at it, it's hard to say, but he definitely was.
Because I cringed too on the initial play. I cringed like, ooh,
I know,
he jumped.
like, here it goes, first down.
Indisputable video evidence, and there was none, right?
Yep.
Like we can do the whole all day, and when it wasn't, like he timed it perfectly.
Yep.
All right, game balls. Go ahead, Maddie.
I'm gonna go T.Y. McGill.
Oh, you stole my guy, damn you.
That dude, let me tell you, off the street, the DJ Jones Memorial Award, right? Like just rolling in, like Eric Armstead's foot has been bummed out for forever. Javon Kinlaw's knee bummed out for forever, right? Like we don't know when they're going to come back, and if they do come back, we don't know if they're going to stay back, right? So huge to have a defensive tackle who can take up space and make plays. and he just seemed to be everywhere the other night, and he just seemed to be
Mhm.
creating havoc and doing the things right. Like all you can ask for out of your defensive tackle, you want them in there. Like you want those Ted Washington, Vince Wilfork sort of guys, Gilbert Browns, those sorts of players just going in there and just wrecking havoc and making things mucky in there so that guys like Nick Bosa aren't caught up in the muck, right? So they can go out and make things happen so that Fred Warner can blitz like a heat-seeking missile, or
Mhm.
Talanoa Hufanga can come in and blitz like a heat-seeking missile and not get caught up in that traffic. So T.Y. McGill for me, man. Big respect, dude.
Go ahead, Becca.
Well, I was going with Jordan Mason. I just thought his performance there in the closing minutes was key for us. Making sure we got those first downs when we needed to burn up the clock, and getting us over the line to put this game away and not give the ball back to the Saints and give them one more opportunity. So I definitely had him down for a game ball. And Robbie, because Robbie also moved into ninth most field goals, tying
That's
Jason
right.
Gillum and Jankowski. So Robbie gets a game ball, and then the entire defense, like those guys, a goal line stance defense gets a game ball.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I was going to go with Ty, just because I thought he did a good job taking on two guys, which freed up the linebackers. As Maddie said, you got to get in the muck to free guys up. I thought he did a good job of doing that, keeping guys off of him. As Melissa said, Hassan Ridgeway was in there as well, doing his thing. You saw 98 just flash a lot. So I felt he had a good game. Obviously, the big guys did what the big guys are supposed to do, which was great to see. On offense, you got to go with Third and Juwan, excuse me. It's Third and Juwan officially.
He was mine.
I mean, he was the guy, when we needed something, a big drive, he got the job done. Got to give a game ball to Brandon Ayuk. But once again, just constantly getting open. He's always open. If he could get a few deep balls, man, yeah, it'd be dangerous. But those are my guys.
All right, I'm gonna go with T.Y. McGill because I loved his celebration. I thought it was just I thought it was just great, and then he just walked off the field like it was real quick. But yeah, I just it's just amazing, this defensive line. Anyone who comes in and just operating under Chris Kasarik, like it's amazing, like somebody off the street, really. And then I'm gonna go with Third and Juwan as well. He's just been real clutch, and I hope that continues. But yeah, with that said, let's move on to this Miami Dolphins game.
The Dolphins. All the chatter.
Yeah, all the chatter. I didn't expect anything less, really. Like if I didn't see any chatter, I'd be like, what's going on? What's the deal?
Yeah.
I knew there was going to be something. I saw that Raheem Mostert went on, I believe, KNBR and tried to just kind of, do some backpedaling a little bit.
Yep.
And then that really didn't work too much because, you had Debo chiming in, you had Charles Omenihu chiming in. But I think it's going to be a pretty chirpy game on Sunday. What do you guys think?
Well, I listened to the KNBR piece that Raheem Mostert did, and he really played it, I thought, very down. Like, my wife is looking forward to hanging out with Jimmy's sister. Of course, I wasn't talking about him, and it's easy to take things out of context and apply it how you want to. But in the context of what I said, I was talking about what Tua has done in this particular instance, and you can see how you can twist that around to make it look like whatever side of the coin you want, give it what face you want it to have. And I think you just have to take these things at whatever value you want. I think some of the players are going to use it as fuel to get into fighting spirit and other people are probably like, it's a nothing burger, and you know, it's really not as big as everyone's making it out to be. But you know, he did talk about his relationships with a lot of the players, and looking forward to coming back to the Bay Area and hanging out with people. So I don't necessarily think there's as much animosity as some of the Twitter sphere is trying to create. Oh, you're on mute, Todd.
I think you're on mute.
Sorry. I was saying he did make those injury comments, and I was about to bring up this exact same thing Melissa says when you said they saw what happened with Tua, with his 2 concussions in the 4 days, and how they handled that situation. So he can't be throwing stones, especially when something like that happened. I mean, come on, that's this crazy.
I mean, he started it with his comments, and then he's going to go on, he's going to go on KNBR and try to smooth things over, and so
yeah. Like, if you want to say you like your quarterback, say, nah, I like my quarterback. I like where I am. I'm glad I'm here, and we're doing well. Keep it like that.
That's kind of the point, right? Like, he's the one who brought this thing up. Well, I can't believe everybody. Like, this is 2022, man. Like,
right. Choose your words carefully.
I'd say right around 2010 to 2012 would be right around the time, like the snippet headlines, right? Whatever you could pull out of an interview to make it a juicy headline is kind of where it rolled, right? To really spin it to the internet. Like, it's always been done for years, but I'd feel like right around that time frame is when it really started to hit the fan, because it was like really clickbaity, right? You could read the same article about the same story 5 times, but they would focus on the different part of the.
Yep.
They focused on whatever other word you'd want, right? Like, and they'd turn the headline out of it. That's kind of what happened here. Like, it's an easy thing to do. Just stay out of it, man. Like, you know how to stay out of it. You know how to not say things. All of these guys have had media classes. All these guys attended those NFL draft day things about what to say, what not to say. They've all talked with communication experts before, right? Like, you knew what you were saying. Like, whatever. For somebody who is basically injured 86% of his career at this point, I'm not good at math. It might be 65. I'm not sure. But, like, for him to be throwing shade on anything is just ridiculous to me. It's crazy. Like, it's awesome. You got a new girlfriend. You really like her. We're really proud of you, right? That doesn't mean that your ex is a bad person. You need to trash her on whatever, right? We see that all the time in the real world. That's exactly what this is. Like, oh, they discarded me. They didn't want me to come back, or they wanted me to come back sooner. Well, I mean, they do pay you to play football. They would like to get you to come back a little bit sooner, But if you can't, they kind of understand that, right? So
it's a business.
It's a business, man. And running backs are treated, unfortunately, like Bic lighters by a lot of organizations, right? Use them and throw them away. Bic lighters, Ford Escorts, same deal, right? Like 2-3 years.
Ford Escort.
2-3 years, put them on Uncle Henry's, and they're gone. Uncle Henry's is like a swap and shop magazine here in Maine. Who knows? Pick it up at the grocery store, and you can find like a 1965 Dodge Datsun, whatever you're looking for, you find it. Dodge Shadow, there it is, right? Like, you're good. But that's what happens. And when they get a chance to talk and chirp, and you get 2 running backs in that roster that like have really, really big chips on their shoulder right now. They basically got casted off. Jeff Wilson's still the leading rusher for the 49ers.
I know. I was going to say the same thing.
Isn't that great? Like he's going to be like, I think this is the first time in league history that the leading rusher for both teams is on the field, right? Like at the same time, like it's the same dude.
It's the same dude.
Like, they're going to be fired up, but I know this defense is going to be fired up too. And I'm telling you, the team that talks first always loses. It's just how it works. And if they don't lose first, they'll lose again later, right? It's just one of those deals. It's I think the talent level on these teams is pretty equal. I think the 49ers are probably a lot deeper on all sides of the ball right now, even with the injuries and everything like that. So, but a lot of folks have the if you look at a lot of the power rankings around the league, they've got the Dolphins ahead of the 49ers. So
they do.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going to this game. This game is a legitimate sellout. Like you can't
Yay,
go
more
buy.
videos.
You can't buy. Yeah, I actually and
No buying tickets the day of.
No buying tickets the day of. Everything was bought. I got to bring my daughter, so I can't do my normal. Like,
That's right. That's true.
skin of my teeth sort of deal.
Mhm.
She can't handle that stress. She needs to. She
Needs
needs to know
no
we're
things are
going.
solid.
She needs to know
Yep.
when we're coming back. Like, yeah, she can't. No, she can't. She needs a good night's sleep. Like, we're gonna stay at the hotel. It's fine.
She can't live your
Yeah.
lifestyle.
No, I don't expect anybody to live my lifestyle. There's no. My girlfriend can't even do that. She's like, "Are you trying?" I was like, "We're gonna go to Vegas," and she's like, "I was like, oh, there's a playoff game a couple weeks later. You should go with me." And she's like, "Are you trying to kill me? Like, are you just trying to like?" I'm like, no, I just want you to go. And she's like, I'll die. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want you to do that. So you go skiing or something. It's fine.
There you go.
Same deal. Same
Stay
deal. But
alive.
no, I'm really looking forward to this. This could be and you know what? So many times you see that regular season matchup turn into a Super Bowl matchup. And man, I'm telling you, I really foresee this as a potential this year Super Bowl matchup. So
Could be.
pay attention. Happened with Cincinnati and San Francisco in 81.
Yep.
It's just one of those happened with Buffalo and the Giants in 90. Just weird games, weird places. Rams and Patriots 2001 is another favorite. Is another weird famous one where it kind of like snapshot into the year. And I always find it weird when that happens because like there was only every 3 years that you could play those teams anyways. So
yeah,
the odds that you would play them that year are odd. Or like they'd have joint practices the year before, and then the next year they made the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like it never fails. So.
And you know what, too, going back to the whole Mostert and Jeff Wilson thing, I mean, I would think that the Niners kind of revived their careers now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Light little bit of gratitude, right?
I mean, you know, you're
How
going to
about
talk all this
Kyle?
smack. And
Thank you for
Pastor
the
Kyle,
opportunity.
for spreading your gospel and allowing me to shine. Thank you.
I mean, this team believed in you, and you're going to go and you're going to say all your stuff. And, you know, I don't know. Not a big fan of that.
How many times did Mostert get hurt to end the season? We bring him back. Right.
And he even wanted to be traded, and we still, you know, we wanted him here.
Wanted him here. He made the whole after the Super Bowl. Hey, I finally was healthy for a season, even though he wasn't, you know, the main guy. I want a new contract. Gave him a new contract. Wound up getting hurt the next year. Shut him down. Right. Comes back 2021 last year. First game, gets injured for the whole season. I mean, how many opportunities did we give you? And now we're saying, all right, exactly, pick you up off the street. Nobody wanted you. Kyle gave you the opportunity, said, you want to be great? Do this, and you'll be great. Jeff Wilson Jr., undrafted. We weren't going to bring him back. Instead of letting him hit the open market and just, you know, have no idea of what's going to happen, traded him to a place with familiar faces that he knows, that he can be comfortable in, and, you know, do a good job and show that, hey, they can easily bring him back next season because they need him. Put him in a great opportunity, a great space, and this is how you respond. Like, I know it's a business. I know it can be shady, but when you got people within the business trying to look out for you, at least be like, hey, man, you did me a solid.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to say nothing about this guy because he looked out for me at the end of the day. That's where I'm coming from.
Nothing but great things to say about my time there. I learned a lot. I'm ready for a new challenge.
Remember that sound bite?
What's wrong with that?
It.
Like that's
it. That's all you say.
Answer.
You're welcome,
like,
everybody.
Right.
Send me an invoice. I'll get everything. If anybody needs that consulting, it's for you.
But they have Tyreek Hill, who was, you know, saying stuff about, you know, Patrick Mahomes when he, you know, went to the sign with the Dolphins and stuff like that, and all, you know. So I guess they all have to follow suit instead of just being their, you know, their own person.
They're like pro wrestlers that have retired and now they have their own podcast and they feel like they have to tell their truth. I think You know what I think it is though, and this actually is a compliment of McDaniel. He's created an environment down there where everybody feels like they can speak about what they want to say. They feel confident talking and being honest and saying what they're feeling until, of course, they get called on it and they have to go back and backtrack because, somebody's sister is friends with somebody's sister somewhere else. But he has created such an environment down there where everybody can say their mind and say their piece. And if you saw that mic'd up thing that they had this week with him, like, he'll do whatever. He'll say whatever at any point in time, right? Like telling Tua that I think Georgia's the best SEC program into his headset. Like,
yeah,
that's the sort of thing that they do down there. And you're right, Melissa. I mean, they do that pretty much in everything down there. Like the Miami Hurricanes, like that's the city, man. Miami chirps. That's what they do.
Like Melissa just said, they chirp in Miami.
I mean, even though you'll talk to Marlins fans that'll talk to you about the 2 World Series titles, and you know what? They have won 2 World Series titles, so go ahead.
All right. Get the chirping. Let's talk about team versus team. Everyone's talking about Miami's offense and what they can do and how they can put up points and blah, 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 and how our offense can't. We struggle to score. But no one talks about how their offense has to go up against our defense. Right? Like, who do you think wins that battle? Who do you think has the advantage?
Sheesh, I don't know. Pretty much every other time in history, I'd say about 85% of the time it goes to the defense.
Yeah.
Based on what I've
defense
seen
wins,
over
right?
the years, right? Like, the occasional Monday nighter where the Dolphins beat the 85 Bears, but McMahon wasn't starting for the 85 Bears in that Monday nighter, right? It changes things up a little bit. Sometimes if a team's going to get you, they're going to get you, right? But like most of the time, that defense is going to be it. And it's usually tougher. It's usually nasty. I mean, you can go back to the freaking 84 Super Bowl. The whole thing that week was they actually asked Joe Montana, how are you going to keep up with Dan Marino? They asked Joe Montana. And the 49ers were the number 1 defense in the league that year. Like it's almost embarrassing. Like this has been going on for decades. This will never stop.
Yeah.
People will always want the offense to be better than the defense. Always.
And Matt, I love that comparison too, because I remember making bets with people on that game because everyone was like, Marino is going to rip the Niners to shreds. Yep. They're going to pile on all these points. I made bets and covered spreads and took, I mean, I didn't even need to, but still I was like, all right, you want to play points? Let's do it. But yeah, I mean, that's a great example. But I do think our defense is going to win this battle. I absolutely do think we're going to get pressure in on Tua. We're going to see Hufanga or Freddie Boy make some INTs there, some sacks, maybe some strips. I'm not sure, but I think our defense scores some points in this game. I do.
And I will say that Eric Armstead is back practicing.
Yep, he had a full practice today.
Hallelujah. That is
that would be great. I love the work Eric Armstead does in the community, but I really like the work that Eric Armstead does on the defensive
in the
line.
trenches. Oh,
even
yeah.
better.
Me too.
Like,
and as far as injuries, Charles Omenihu and Christian McCaffrey did not practice today. Debo was limited. Jimmy G, or as Ty would say, James Arthur, was full go. Like I said, Armstead was practicing. Spencer Burford was limited, and we had a low key good signing to our practice squad. Jack Rabbit, Janoris Jenkins.
I got a question mark on that. I'm hesitant.
It's this year's nickname defensive back on the practice squad guy. Last year was Peanut. This year is Jack Rabbit. Great.
I thought it was pretty.
We
good.
haven't gotten Pac-Man yet. Okay, so let's just count our blessings there.
You wait.
But our keys to victory from the offense. What does the offense have to do?
Well, here's the thing. Everyone talks about Miami's offense, our defense. No one talks about how our offense has to go up against their defense, which sucks. It's not that good. They
True.
give up plays, especially against a team that can actually run an offense like us. So, my keys to victory is once again keep it simple. Run the ball.
Yeah.
I want to see TDP and Jordan Mason pounding the rock.
Mm-hmm.
If McCaffrey is injured, he's a little dinged up. You know what? We can use him strictly as a third down weapon. Bringing him out of backfield and doing things with him creatively. I think we need to take some shots downfield. Xavier Howard's their best corner, but he isn't as good as he used to be. He's given up some plays, so we could definitely take advantage of him there. And get the ball to George Kittle.
Jess is like,
They have no one on their team that can handle George Kittle.
yeah.
They can't use their best corner out there because, good luck guarding Brandon Ayuk with your second and third corner. Please do that. Yeah. So get the ball to Kittle, pound the rock. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think we have to start quick. Keep it going. Like Ty had said, Jordan Mason, TDP, using Christian McCaffrey for third downs, if that's the case, that I like. And of course, as I always say, I say the same thing every show. You got to get George Kittle involved, and you got to keep him involved, because when George Kittle's involved, really good things happen.
Mm-hmm.
We have to eliminate penalties and score in the red zone. We have to fix those problems too. Those are big keys.
I'm going to see, and I'm going to predict.
Let it go. Let it go.
Brian says he's not a believer in Armstead. Dude, you better believe.
Please let it go.
Watch the things he does. He frees up things for other guys. He does that dirty getting in the muck stuff that Maddie was talking about earlier. Yeah. Buckner wanted more money. He had to go.
Even if he's 80%, like, he's another body to be able to rotate in there to keep everybody fresh, right? That's the other key for this defensive line. Healthy bodies so that they can come in there and do that. Keys for this week for me for the offense. Debo touches. And Debo touches in the run game. If you need to utilize McCaffrey as a decoy in those scenarios, rock on. And then I really want to see Jordan Mason come in and be the finisher. I think Jordan Mason can come out and be the closer. I want to get to a point when you bring Jordan Mason into a game in the second half, like you could do it like they do with Mariano Rivera back in the old days of the Yankees. You could play Enter Sandman because the game's over, right? Jordan Mason's going to come in and he's going to run you into the ground 4.5, 5 yards every single play for the next 10 minutes. Good luck trying to stop it. Thanks for playing. That's what I want to see.
Rocking in the end
right. Whatever it is. As soon as Jordan Mason comes in, you call him the closer. Whatever. I think that's the way to go because he could do that. So I think if you can, Jess brought up a really big key, and we saw this in the Atlanta game. Atlanta gets 2 touchdowns early, changes things up a little bit, right? Like you got to come back and 14. This team is not meant to come from behind 14, 21 points. Can they? Yes. Are they meant to? No. Is it their optimal game? Definitely not. I also don't think they have the energy to continue to come back and do that, especially in this league. Come back 14 points, and then you have to fall down by 14 points again. You're probably not going to come back that second time. They got to start early. They got to, if they get the ball first, they got to score a touchdown. If they don't get the ball first, they need to force a 3 and out, not a 9 and out, not an 11 and out,
third down conversions,
not a 3rd and 16, and we do a defensive holding penalty on the line for 5 yards and an automatic first down. None of it. 3 and out, and get the ball back for the offense who goes down the field and scores, right? Like that quick start so that they can kind of assert their will.
Yeah, the thing about the team is we're not a quick strike offense unless somebody breaks one. Because we don't get chunk plays through the air. That's what quick strike offenses do. That's what Miami tries to do. we run basically the same offense as they do. The only thing is their quarterback will take advantage of the deep throws. He will sling it out there. I'll give him credit for that. And with the speed they have out there, they can do that. I'm really not worried about it. The only thing that worries me about their offense is Tyreek Hill in the slot, because they like to run him on those deep over routes coming across the field.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to have Jimmy Ward or safety on him one-on-one doing that, that is a huge problem. And I know that D'Amico likes to call those plays where that happens, and that's not good.
Too many plays where he could end up by himself, and you're like, how did he get open like that?
You saw Jimmy Ward on Sunday when he's guarding the guy coming across. He was flailing, looking for the ball. It was ugly. It's ugly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Jimmy Ward in the slot.
He's not a cover guy. If he's close to the line, 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, he's awesome. He's like a linebacker down there. He's awesome. But once you get him back in space, he's not that guy.
Yeah, I think he gave up 3 big ones last week, didn't he? Like 3 big.
Yeah.
It seems like they say they're using him like a slot receiver, but in reality, they're kind of using him like the Patriots used to use Patrick Chung. Kind of the same deal. It's almost like that extra linebacker, but he's a defensive back, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I'm not going to throw Jimmy Ward off the secondary. I just want him in a better position.
Yeah.
He's not a slot receiver. He's not a slot corner.
He's not a slot corner. His best position
I need more Sam Womack in my life
safety.
is really what it boils down to. Like Sam Womack needed to be the guy that stepped up after Emmanuel Mosley stepped out. He's the guy who's best suited to do that with his physical skills, to be quite honest with you.
I agree with that.
I don't know about his experience. He's not going to have the same experience Jimmy Ward has, but
he's got to get the reps, Oh, there
you said it, Sam Womack. There it is.
Sam Womack. We should put out like a bat signal for Sam Womack, and it could be like the SMU pony, right? You could just put it right up in the air.
Keys to victory for the defense.
Okay, so Tua is not a runner, but he can extend plays. I think you got to collapse the pocket on him. Having Buckner. See, Bryant's talking about Buckner so much.
Let it go.
My God, it's Earth 838 all over again. You're on Earth 838, DeForest Buckner stayed. Yeah,
it's been how many years? You gotta be like Elsa, man. Let it go. But like having Armstead come back, in his 6'8" frame versus Tua's 6 foot frame, helps clog things up and contain him in the pocket, and we can get to him. If their left tackle, I don't know if their left tackle is going to play, but he's injured. If he doesn't play, or if he does play, we still got the advantage there.
I don't think he's playing. They didn't. He wasn't practicing today.
Yeah, but
I don't
either
think
way,
either.
We're going to feast on that. So good luck there. So
I was going to say, cue the under pressure.
Yeah. So like, we know Tua.
That was such a good documentary.
Yeah, Tua's a lefty, so he's got pressure coming toward his face, which means he's got to go the other way. That's an advantage for us. So we got to get pressure on him. And I think D'Amico's got to play smart and, leave a safety back. Don't try to blitz way too much.
Right. He might not matter from like a statistical standpoint. He might not have 15 sacks or something. But I promise you, if he plays somewhat healthy, just him being there will help that defense.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, when you look at defensive tackles, don't just look at, how many sacks does he have? Yeah. What do you do? Those guys get in there and do the dirty work. That frees up the linebackers, that frees up the defensive ends. You heard Nick Bosa say the other day, oh man, having Eric back that'll be tremendous.
That's as excited as you're going to hear,
That was
Nico.
That's
really
excited
good.
she's gonna get. Yeah,
Right.
I'm trying.
He's super excited.
I'm no
Yeah.
Steph Sanchez, but I'm trying. But yeah, because
I love
Bosa knows that Armstead does a lot of dirty work that frees him up. You don't get as many double teams when he's out there because Eric can take on a double team, and free him up a bit. So those are the things that he does.
I think if they pitch another second half shutout, that's
It'd be
Keep the
glorious.
streak alive, baby.
hey,
It'd be
keep the
glorious.
streak alive. That's gonna also be a real good indication of who's gonna win the war here.
And it's apparently supposed to rain on Sunday.
Yeah, I heard that
Mhm.
hot take. I'm really excited. I got to buy another poncho, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think that immediately benefits the 49ers.
Yeah, because it keeps
Oh, yeah.
Tyreek Hill from being able to
Slows them down.
run on a fast field, right?
Yeah.
So,
Slows those track guys down.
do we have a list of the officials yet? I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if it's gonna be the Hockey guy. I think Hockey's doing the Pats this week, but like,
Hockey
yeah.
Jr.
Hockey
Jr.
Jr. He threw like
Yeah.
13
Yeah.
flags. I think he threw 2 weeks ago. Like,
Yes,
Bill's
something
Pats.
crazy
He'll be-
like that.
he'll be
Yeah.
over there.
what was it?
Yeah.
Marv Levy used to call them over officious jerks. Like, it was one of my favorite. You over officious jerks. Like, to his mobile, but he's that he's not like Mike Vick mobile. He's like John Elway mobile, right?
Correct.
Like
He can use his legs. He can extend
He's
blades.
gonna use his legs and get those first downs. He's not gonna break you for 50, but he could get 15, 16 here or there. Herbert and Mahomes can each do that too.
Yeah. But those are guys that look to pass first
Right.
before running.
Right.
They
Correct.
keep their head up, downfield scanning, and then when they see nothing's there,
Until the very,
take
very
off.
last second. And then
exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So he's that kind of mobile quarterback. But everyone talks about how, McDaniels knows Kyle Shanahan. Well, Kyle Shanahan knows McDaniels too.
And don't
Right.
forget, Robert Saleh beat them. So I mean,
And that's what
already
I was
this season. So there is
Exactly.
an answer for McDaniel.
And
I was gonna
just
say.
because Mike McDaniels had the title offensive coordinator, it doesn't mean that he called the plays.
that was a title only.
Correct.
That's like who's our running back coach?
Bobby Turner.
Turner.
Bobby Turner. No, the other guy.
Anthony Lynn.
Anthony Lynn.
Anthony Lynn is the assistant head coach. How much head coaching do you think he's doing? Like, it's just
Not a
title.
lot.
It's just a title,
Right.
So, but Rebecca made a very good point. D'Amico Ryans knows him. Kyle Shanahan knows him. You think they're not putting their heads together saying, look, this is what they like to do. This is how you can stop it, how you think you can stop it, blah, 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 and come up with a great defensive game plan for them.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's
I think
just-
all
it's-
four of us already know what that game plan is. Ass kicking is what it's going to be. They're going
And
to
it's just
hit
it's
after
always
hit
seems
after
to be
hit.
so one-sided because everyone looks at the Dolphins like, oh wow, look at all like the speed that they have and like the points that they
Mhm.
put up and
Yeah.
look what they did to the Texans and and blah blah blah. Although the Texans wound up coming back quite a bit.
But the Texans are trash.
yeah.
They're
but
1-8 for a reason.
Right. But like we'll never get the what's the word I'm looking for?
The credit, the accolades.
Yes, the
Credit, the
credit when
recognition.
it's due. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, even in the games that their winning streak they've had, it's been against bad teams. And they had a +5 takeaway. I think I saw they're winning the takeaway war on those games that they won. I don't think they're doing that against us.
No.
That is not happening. So they're not gonna.
But it's you
Win
got to
the
look
turnover.
once again. You got to look into those stats. Like football is so much
Exactly.
more than stats. Like if you look at that game against the Texans, like they were literally. It was a play where they just literally threw the ball right to a Dolphins defender. It was like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. Right.
One guy got hit, fumbled. He didn't even bother to fight to look for the ball. They picked it up, scoop and score. It was terrible.
Mhm.
It was like you played a bad team with zero fight, and you came away with all this glorious stuff that you were winning so well. You were able to pull your starting quarterback in the third quarter.
Right.
If you think that's happening Sunday,
Yeah.
you are out of your mind.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
All right. So, real quick, on both sides of the ball, who's your player that's going to have a good game?
Nick Bosa, Tyler Davis Price.
Becca?
Fred Warner and Debo Samuel.
Maddie?
Talanoa Hufanga and Brandon Ayuk.
All good choices.
Make me want to change my pick. I'm like, damn, they picking some good people. Hold on.
I am going George Kittle. Shocker.
I saved him for you.
No.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Is George Kittle breathing? Yes. Okay. This is picking him as the offensive player of the week. Okay.
And I'm going to go Fred Warner.
And Melissa says Greenlaw and Brandon Ayuk, 2 excellent picks.
Yes, indeed. All right. So with that being said, if we don't have anything else, how about we go our hurry up offense to the 2-minute warning?
Let's do it. Boom. All
Becca,
right.
you're up.
All right. Well, I want to just circle back on something Nick said in the interview, which was talking about diversity and the programs that the Niners do. I don't know if anyone noticed, but we now have a male cheerleader on our squad. I think I love the way that, they're not only talking the talk, but they're walking the walk. Our defense is going to ball out and really shut down the Miami offense this week. And I think the Niners win in big fashion.
Go ahead, Maddie.
Don't forget it's My Cause, My Cleats week. So if you have spare stuff to donate, make sure you donate to some of the amazing My Cause, My Cleats things that have been going on. Also, the Golden Heart Fund is another one that you can donate to. Another good one. Yesterday was Giving Tuesday, but I think that should probably continue all week because you're going to see the My Cause, My Cleats this weekend. And again, win over the Dolphins this weekend as well. That's my cause for my cleats. Thank you.
Ty?
Hey, I'm going to piggyback off Rebecca, because I have some friends in Ohio who have some connections with the Browns organization. So, I just kind of pick their brain about, fan engagement and things that they do, and they don't do anything that we do. So not only is our organization putting together a great team on the field, they also have a great team off the field that does a lot for us fans and our community as a whole. So thank you, San Francisco 49ers, for all you do.
Yes, thank you, 49ers, for all you do. Also, Kyle, D'Amico, have our guys ready. Let's get this dub on Sunday. Go Niners.
And don't forget to vote for the Pro Bowl.
Yes,
That
don't
too.
forget to vote for the Pro Bowl. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Where am I?
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.